Good morning. Actually good afternoon. It's Sunday, February 11th. And I said earlier last week on Facebook that I was going to try to make these videos more frequently as they are catching on. And I've been doing some research and I've found out that the more frequent you post videos up on YouTube, the faster the channel will catch on. So let's see if that actually happens. I need to give everybody an update on the Big SMB job that I've been working on. In the last video, I was talking about going to do some work on the hard drives that were in the server, which are in what's known as a RAID array. RAID stands for Redundant Array of Independent Disks. It is a means of, among other things, it is a means of allowing data to be backed up across two disks, and both disks work to create the array, and data is backed up on the fly. This is actually a great setup unless you run into a situation where, because of lack of maintenance, the array gets into such a state that you can't rebuild it before the entire array fails. When an array fails, we call it breaking the array. Once the array breaks, all the data that was on that array is lost. Unfortunately, this is what happened on Saturday. The plan was to go in and replace the two drives that had originally failed. And they had been in a failed state for a very long time due to lack of maintenance on the part of the former IT guy of this particular facility. I actually went to replace one of them, and while I was literally in the middle of replacing the first failed drive, the drive in this particular RAID array that was still good failed. This action broke the array and forced me to restore the data from backups they had. Now, I was able to replace the failed drive in the second array just by the skin of my teeth. Once you insert a new drive into an array, the controller software will automatically detect this, and it will start the rebuilding process, which happened with the second array. The second array rebuilt, and then the remaining drive that was good in that particular array failed, which was a problem because I was prepared to replace two drives, not four. I was able to secure two additional drives thanks to a good buddy of mine, and I was able to get these drives into the machine to temporarily restore the arrays to health until I could get two additional replacement units, which I did get, and they are now in the server. The issue that we have now is that the backups that I had to use to restore the data on the array that broke, are a little bit old. And they're actually a little bit too old, so we're in the process of searching for newer backups, which I'm not sure if they're going to be available or not. The previous IT guy, he did not maintain the equipment correctly. What he does is he basically allows things to break, and then he replaces the entire computer in one shot, which is a horrible way of doing things, to say the least. I did say in one of my actually in my very first video on this particular SMB job, that your SMB computer systems need periodic maintenance in order to stay running. This is a good example of what happens when they don't get that maintenance. On top of all that, what you have here is your typical business owner that really doesn't know much about their IT systems, which unfortunately, this is not an isolated case. It happens all the time. And then on top of that, when the owner and I discussed the situation, and we decided to try to contact the original IT guy to see if more recent backups could be located than what I was seeing on my monitor, he was called, and I was told that he doesn't respond to phone calls. Well, to my surprise, about an hour later, he did respond to this particular phone call, and I did speak with him, and I got on the phone, and the very first thing he says to me is that I have an active service contract with Business X. Oops. Which I'm going to actually end this video here, because this brings me into service contracts, and that's a whole nother separate video which I will be actually taking today, but it's not going to be in the same file. So I will see everyone in a few minutes.